Tonight, an update on the next phase of Regina's new breast assessment center.
Into Alberta.
Also, the NDP accuses the government of lying and shipping Saskatchewan tires out of province to be recycled.
I'm so grateful to Lulu's Lodge for what you do for this community.
Plus, Marvel star Tatiana Maslany gets emotional and political as her hometown pays tribute to her.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, June 26th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Construction on the new Breast Health Centre in Regina is underway. The centre will provide patients with diagnostic imaging, consultation with specialists and surgeons, patient education and support, and navigation. The new centre is located in the Regina Centre Crossing building at 1621 Albert Street. Regina surgeon Dr. Sarah Miller told the media at a press conference event this afternoon that the new Breast Health Centre will attract professionals like surgeons and breast diagnostic specialists to Regina. In fact, Dr. Miller says they've already hired 2 new surgeons from out of province. This update comes as the province continues to work through significant backlog in breast cancer screening. So far, the entire project is costing the government $3.6 million.
We want to ensure that women across this province do have access to the care they need, and whether it's the mammogram, whether it's other diagnostic procedures and treatments that need to be provided to them, that they have that assurance that we are going to try to have that here in Saskatchewan as quickly as possible. In some respects, it is a marathon, but it never really ends. You really need to keep your eye on the ball all the time to make sure that you have the care of patients front and foremost.
The province says it's made good progress on staffing the new facility without poaching people from other understaffed healthcare facilities. Meanwhile, in a statement, opposition health critic Vicky Mowat says the NDP has zero faith that the Sask Party will be able to fix the crisis that Mowat says they have created. The new Breast Health Centre is scheduled to open in the spring. A very public dispute about what should happen to tires in need of recycling in Saskatchewan continues today. The opposition NDP say tires are currently being shipped from Moose Jaw to a facility in Calgary for recycling. Video of the shipping was provided to CBC by Surecom Industries. NDP leader Carla Beck says the Environment Minister was asked twice in April if tires from our province were being taken elsewhere to be recycled. Both times, Christine Tell said no. Beck says the video proves the government is lying.
We saw dozens of layoffs at a Saskatchewan-based processing company after the Sask Party gave their contract to a California-based company. And it's now clear that the Saskatchewan tire processing fees paid by Saskatchewan people on their tires are now going towards creating jobs in Calgary.
Pretty upsetting, to be honest with you. We've got a $15–20 million facility sitting here, not shredding one tire, and these tires are leaving the province for what reason I couldn't explain.
Surecom had the provincial recycling contract for 30 years, but the Tire Stewardship of Saskatchewan and the province recently split that contract into 2, north and south. The south contract was awarded to the California-based Crumb Rubber manufacturer, CRM, forcing Surecom to lay off 60 employees. In a statement today, the Ministry of Environment says Tire Stewardship Saskatchewan is, quote, operating within their approved product stewardship program, and that it is, quote, looking forward to a second tire processor coming online as soon as possible. A bus driver who crossed into the path of an oncoming semi will not be charged. The collision claimed the lives of 17 seniors and injured 8 others. Today, a Crown attorney and the RCMP gave new details on the investigation into the Carberry crash and explained the decision not to prosecute. Josh Krapp reports.
It's taken about a year to analyze the crash after a bus trip for seniors June 15th ended in tragedy. These 17 people died because of the collision. 8 others, including the 61-year-old driver, were injured. But RCMP Superintendent Rob Lawson says the driver won't be charged.
I need to say this was a very tragic collision, and it happened because of a choice made by the bus driver. However, we cannot prove that that choice that day was a result of anything criminal.
Investigators say the bus stopped at this intersection near Carberry and waited for traffic going west to clear at 11:32 in the morning. 10.5 seconds later, it was hit by a semi with the right-of-way as the driver of the bus was crossing the east lanes of the Trans-Canada Highway.
The Highway Traffic Act.
Crown attorney Chris Vanderhooft says there's no reasonable likelihood of conviction, due in part to the driver's view being blocked on the bus between the passenger loading door and a small right window.
It is apparent from all of the evidence that the driver, due to the blind spots in that vehicle, and when he may have looked in that direction, did not see the semi-truck traveling eastbound. He did not hit the brakes, nor did he speed up to avoid the oncoming semi-truck.
The Mounties can't talk to the driver because he suffered a traumatic brain injury. RCMP and the Crown met with families of the crash victims for a couple of hours to share the decision not to charge.
Good memories, but sad that they're not here anymore.
Frank and Rose Prezzello were among those killed. Their niece, Chantel Urick, is feeling conflicted.
If there was something that was blocking, their view when they was driving, it's still up to the person that's driving the motor vehicle to make sure that you can see.
Investigators say the driver wasn't impaired or texting at the time of the collision. However, he did make a call to his dispatch about 5 minutes before the crash using a headset. And police say there were no mechanical problems with the bus. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Regina police now have a description of the suspect in the yard sale stabbings last week, and they're hoping for the public's help. 2 people were attacked in the River Heights neighborhood of Regina just before noon last Thursday. Both were taken to hospital for treatment, and police say they're looking for a man with medium to heavy build. They say he has black hair and was wearing a blue shirt with a black print pattern and black pants at the time. He was last seen walking eastbound from Wascana Street and 14th Avenue. So police are asking anyone who might have caught the suspect on their doorbell cameras or vehicle dash cams to get in contact with them. Upgrades to a beloved indoor aquatic center in Saskatoon will now go ahead, but with a cost. City Council has approved a budget increase of $6 million to fix Harry Bailey Aquatic Center. That brings the total cost for upgrades to $30 million. The city says no one is able to do the work for less. The facility in the city's core is almost 50 years old. It's been closed since April of last year. The revised budget includes upgrades to that the city deems essential, but other plans are being scaled down.
The scope of work change here is really disappointing, to be quite frank. And I actually don't think the scope of work that was originally envisioned or that is laid out here was even fully understood by community.
And we would certainly much rather be building a larger facility for less money, or the full scope of what was there. This isn't ideal to have to scale back and spend it, but also find more money. It certainly shows the challenges of inflation and how they're hitting our city in a real way.
The 50-meter pool will no longer be completely demolished and replaced, and instead, the new budget calls for a patch and repair strategy. And the plan for a new enlarged fitness facility is being scrapped. Construction work at the pool begins next week. It's scheduled to reopen in late spring of 2026. And it is official. Saskatoon Transit will be offering free fares for children on September 1st on public transit and access transit. After much research and provided options, Council voted that kids in grade 8 and under will ride for free. And they will self-verify, which means they just tell the bus driver and they won't need a pass or ID to prove it. According to the decision report, it's not expected to impact Transit's 2024 revenue budget. And if there is an impact, it will be reported back for future deliberations. After 1 year, administration will report back to Council about how it's going. And Saskatoon City Council also started the process to begin rehabilitation of the Broadway Bridge. Administration says the aging bridge needs joint replacements and major repairs to its arches. Today, Council voted to start looking for a company to do the work and to use any leftover cash from other bridge projects and put it toward this one. The work is estimated to cost more than $13 million. The report says administration will move forward with tendering the project in October. And if approved, the work would begin next spring. It would shut down the bridge for months. Some TV stars were in Regina today, not to film a show, but to celebrate homegrown talent Tatiana Maslany. The She-Hulk and Orphan Black star is being recognized for her 2022 induction into Canada's Walk of Fame. But as Tyreek Reed explains, Maslany's focus was on the issues in the community and overseas.
3, 2, 1.
A Walk of Fame star for a local star. Regina's very own Tatiana Maslany emotional as she received the recognition today. But while many in the room were there to honor her, Maslany used her platform to shed light on both local and international issues, making a $10,000 donation to Lulu's Lodge, a 5-bedroom transitional home for queer youth in Regina.
I'm so grateful to Lulu's Lodge for what you do for this community, here we go, for making a space of safety to us LGBTQ people.
During the event, Maslany condemned the provincial government for its controversial Parents' Bill of Rights, requiring schools to receive consent from parents to use a child's preferred name or gender identity if they are under 16.
It's an overreach on the part of the provincial government to legislate that. It's absurd. Children have rights. Children are human beings who have knowledge and who know themselves, and we should be taking cues from them.
Maslany touched on the Israel-Hamas conflict, calling actions taken by the Israeli military a genocide.
There's so much action that can be taken by our government, by the U.S. government, that they're actively not doing. They're doing the opposite. And by funding the Israeli army, by supporting the genocide, we are complicit.
Maslany's support for LGBTQ+ issues was welcomed by community members.
$10,000, that would house 20 youth for a month. So if you want to look at the actual impact that it would have, that's a lot of youth in the city. We often have people that stay for short term, so even just that month respite for somebody and be able to build that foundation is a really big deal.
A big deal for the charity, but for Maslany, today was about her actions and words.
And I know that my platform doesn't mean much, but to me it was a space to speak, and I don't take that lightly.
Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Regina.
A light breeze and a comfortable day to be outside in Saskatoon today. I believe we would call this Goldilocks weather. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. But we are still hanging out below seasonal temperatures, and it is going to cool off even more before it warms up. Maybe not the news you want with a long weekend on the horizon. Ethan will have your full forecast after the break. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. New truck trade-up is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. You return to change the forecast back.
Yeah, that's right. Goodbye clouds and rain for now anyway, and we've seen a pretty nice day through the province as temperatures pretty uniform here, right around 20 degrees or even a little bit above that in some places, especially southwestern Saskatchewan, getting up close to 25 in some spots. High pressure is what is keeping those temperatures uniform, keeping the winds lighter too, and for the most part, save for a couple sprinkles north of Saskatoon, things are mostly sunny as well through the province. But you see the rain starting to move in through Alberta, and that is eventually going to move our way, and that is going to bring us some rain, and tomorrow could also bring us the risk of some severe thunderstorms. And we're kind of looking Trans-Canada corridor southward through south central and southeastern Saskatchewan is where we have a level 2 out of 4 risk for severe weather tomorrow. Some large hail and damaging wind gusts possible. Also going to have to keep our eye out. There may be the risk of a tornado or two tomorrow as well. So we'll see how the ingredients come together tomorrow for that. Now, what is causing all this is kind of a pair of low pressure systems that are in Montana and Alberta. And what's going to happen is those are going to kind of combine together in southern Alberta by tomorrow morning. And that is going to be dragging up a lot of moisture from the southern United States and from the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, what goes up must come down, and that's going to dump a lot of rain as it starts to move into western sections of our province as we get into tomorrow morning through the kind of mid-morning hours. Then by tomorrow afternoon, this is when our severe weather threat starts to take off. The warm front from this system potentially triggering off storms in southern Saskatchewan. This system may actually be a little bit more further south tomorrow, so the storms may stay stateside, but it'll depend on how this kind of all plays out. What we do know, though, is that after the storm threat moves through, after kind of tomorrow evening, this whole system starts to intensify, especially in terms of rainfall, and really right along kind of between Regina and Saskatoon and roughly the Yellowhead corridor, we will see some heavier pockets of showers through the night tomorrow and definitely through Friday before high pressure moves in and clears things out just in time for the start of the holiday weekend. Now, usually I say take this map with a grain of salt, but in this case, I don't think this is actually overestimating rainfall amounts. We could see pockets of maybe 50 to 70 millimeters of rain, and the bullseye right now is kind of in west central Saskatchewan, just south of Saskatoon, and perhaps along that Yellowhead corridor. Regina and Saskatoon, we may be just missing the bulk of this, and again, that's through tomorrow, later in the evening, through the day on Friday. Now, the good news is we're catching the rain from this, but the windiest of the conditions will be to our south, and this system isn't particularly strong wind-wise. So things will pick up here and there, maybe 50 to 60 kilometers an hour. But overall, I think rain is going to be really the story here. Again, risk of severe storms tomorrow afternoon in Regina, a washout Friday, and then just in time for our long weekend, things improving before we are back into the showers and the cooler temperatures for next week. In Saskatoon, I think amounts could be even higher, possibly looking in that 30 to 40 millimeter range perhaps. But so yeah, holiday weekend, Sam, not great, at least the Saturday, Sunday looking nice.
Did you just cover the whole map? Like, worry about that later?
We'll talk about that another time.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Our counts are actually pretty low right now, and I think this is actually something that's pretty fooling. We've had a lot of windy nights, and those windy nights have been actually interfering with the ability to trap the mosquitoes. Illustratively speaking, we've had 1 mosquito per trap last week.
That said, mosquito season is off to a slow start in Regina. In a typical year, the city's Russell Irick, that's who you saw there, says you'd see about 28 per trap. He says once the rain calms down and we actually get some real heat, things will change. Meanwhile, city crews are still out treating standing bodies of water with an organic product called Vectobac. The city starts treating May 1st and usually wraps it up mid-September. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. The federal government has taken steps to restrict the number of temporary residents entering Canada. That includes foreign workers whose numbers reached record levels last year. The change has left many employers struggling to fill job vacancies, and that's why a program to bring refugees here on a permanent basis is starting to catch on. Kyle Back says more.
Finding workers to fill jobs at a manufacturing facility like this isn't easy, especially with an aging population.
People are not entering these fields at the same rate as the older workers are leaving.
The company relies on immigration, like the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, and now it's trying a relatively new program called the Economic Mobility Pathways Pilot, aimed at hiring international refugees.
This program affords us an opportunity to access people with specialized skills that are not really easy to find in the current Canadian marketplace.
A small hiring team traveled to Peru last summer and interviewed 40 refugees and displaced people, handing out 35 job offers. One of those new hires is 36-year-old Cesar Franco.
This is my dream, go to Canada.
He worked as an oil and gas engineer in Venezuela, but left because of the economic and political instability. He'll arrive in Canada later this month and work as a factory mechanic. His wife and children can immigrate too.
They are so excited to go to Canada. My daughters all every day tell me, "Hey Dad, when we leaving?"
The EMPP program gives permanent residency to the workers. The program has faced criticism in the past for lengthy delays in processing applicants, but those involved say that's no longer the case.
We're at a place where we now have sufficient speed and predictability that makes this a really good option for hiring teams.
Still, some immigration experts say the government has to focus on keeping those processing times short for the program to succeed. So far, it's brought nearly 300 refugees and displaced people to Canada. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
WestJet mechanics could walk off the job this Friday. The airline says the union representing maintenance engineers has issued a strike notice. It's urging passengers to prepare for possible travel disruptions.
There's uncertainty over what's going to happen, so therefore all our guests should call us, the airline, and check for their flights.
The airline says the union has rejected its latest pay offer. Just last week, talks broke down for the first time, and the airline canceled 40 flights, affecting almost 7,000 customers. The union then called off the strike and agreed to return to the bargaining table. I thought there was going to be one more line there, hence the abrupt.
Let me finish it off for you. Things are going to get stormy if you have flights planned for tomorrow and for Friday. We're looking at the possibility of some stormy weather headed our way. Regina, the calm before the storm overnight tonight, and then tomorrow just cloudy by the morning. Those winds starting to pick up, though, and still gusty by the time we get into the afternoon, with the possibility, again, of some storms and likely some showers. Some of those storms could become severe a little bit later into the afternoon. Saskatoon, again, sitting around 14 tonight. Cloudy by the morning with some possible showers already for you folks. And then likely by the noon hour, that's when we're seeing that rain moving in. Showers kind of on and off at times, I think, through tomorrow. And then the heavier pockets, Sam, those get going later tomorrow night. So a bit of a washout in store here.
I like a good storm. I'm not mad about it.
There you go. You get your wish.
No damage, though.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid that.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Okay, before we go, how long could you survive in the wilderness all by yourself? Me, not very long. But one Saskatchewan woman is figuring that out, all for a chance to win $500,000. It's for the reality show Alone. 10 contestants go against the isolation of the wild, and Michaela Carrier is one of those contestants. She's also an entrepreneur and land-based educator who lives north of Cumberland House.
I just heard the ice crack underneath me, and that's... Oh. I'm doing this because I want to follow in the footsteps of my ancestors. I have a Cree Métis background. In Cree culture, it's called the Wapus. The location that they dropped us is Inuvik, near Inuvik, Mackenzie River Delta. It's the homeland of the Inuvialuit and Gwich'in people, and it's a landscape just full of rivers and little lakes, lots of mud, and lots of wild animals like grizzly bears and moose and lots of fish. So I grew up on the trap line. My dad is a Cree Métis, and my mom a land-based educator from the city. They decided to raise us here on the trap line out in the middle of the wilderness, and I've been hunting, fishing, trapping my whole life, learning how to set nets underneath ice and use nets all year long, and using snares to trap all sorts of different fur-bearing animals and to use the full animal as well. And I also have some other really cool skills, which is my sewing abilities. So I was able to take different furs and make my own clothing, which you'll see when you watch the show, some cool things that I'm wearing. So yeah, lots of different skills in my background. And just the human experience of being alone and doing that. So I can't wait to share it.
Carrier says she hopes she inspires young Indigenous women in Saskatchewan to be more confident on the land, and you can see how she does every Thursday night on the History Channel. And that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.